Hello and welcome to episode number 33 of the Hobbies and Happiness podcast, where we talk all about the hobby that makes us happy, tabletop gaming. I'm one of your hosts, Dan.
And I'm Jim, and today we're talking about turning video games into board games.
All right, so we are currently in my basement, like normal, surrounded by piles and piles of boxes.
Yes.
Of stuff. It's a mess. It looks like a tornado went through here, dude.
It doesn't look like a tornado went through here, dude.
What does it look like?
It looks like you're moving. We wouldn't be even, I don't think we'd have a roof over our head if we were hit by a tornado.
Depends on the size of the tornado, but you're probably right. You are most likely correct. So today we're continuing our conversation from last week. So last week, if you have not listened to that episode number 32, we basically talked about should all tabletop games be digital. It's getting to the point now to where like a lot of these tabletop games are coming out with digital versions, and some of them are really good. And like if they don't have a standalone digital version, you can play it on TTS, for example. Yeah. And like things like TTS are really, really, really good resources.
I wonder if that's why some of the games are turning into video games to just like not be free on TTS.
Maybe. I mean, that's an interesting question.
Huh.
Yeah, because I feel like nowadays, I mean, these developers and publishers have to know.
Yeah.
And well, I mean, most of them do. Like, most of them do utilize TTS from we're going to use it for playtesting. So actually, I think it was last week I listened to Garfield Games. Okay. They just announced their next trilogy or sets of games. So Garfield Games are the ones who did Raiders of the North Sea. Okay. So they have basically each direction. They're so they have the North. They have which is the other one? The West. This next one is they're doing South, and then they're going to do East. Okay. So the North was like all Viking themed, I believe. The West was more medieval themed. Okay. So like I've got Architects of the West Kingdom, I believe. Age of Artisans is in the same trilogy, I guess. And so the next one they were talking about is their South series. That is more in like the Byzantine, and a lot of people were actually saying they were asking why they didn't make this series in like the East for whatever reason. They have other plans, I guess, for the East, but it was very interesting. I found it interesting because I really enjoy listening to these designers talk about like their thoughts of like how they designed a game, like what they designed it around, and kind of their ideas. I mean, I'm an ideas guy. I like listening to other people's ideas, and like where they get their inspiration from. So anyway, in doing so, they talked a little bit about TTS and like how before they used to do playtesting, like they'd actually have to schedule playtesting like with each other because there's two of them. Right. There's two guys. So they had to schedule playtest of, okay, we're going to come over to your house. We'll make sure we have everything. Now it's like they can do it anywhere they are and with anybody they want. Yeah. So TTS is like an amazing resource, especially for designers, right? Yeah. However, I mean, I feel like this is the thing with anything is it can be too much of a good thing can be a bad thing, right? Yeah. And so there's people who like pirate these games. And I don't even know if pirate's the right word, but somehow they make it free as a mod on TTS without the designers or publishers' permission. Yeah. And then, somebody's basically losing out on money. Yeah. So
if it's a card game, someone can just take whatever easy. The image is.
Yeah. Right. So, I mean, that's a good question. I'd be interested is that a reason that some of these designers and or publishers are moving towards trying to develop a standalone digital title because they know TTS is a thing? I don't know.
I'm sure it could be a reason.
It's got to play into it. You would think, I mean, I think that has to play a part for sure. Okay, but before we get into the episode, so Jim, what's been going on? What's been going on in your life this past week? You been playing anything, or what have you been into other than Splinterlands?
That's pretty much it, Dan.
We know it's Splinterlands.
That's been my life this last almost 3 months now.
Yeah. Have you been watching any TV shows or movies or anything?
No.
Eternals came out.
Oh, yeah. We were supposed to see that over the weekend.
Yeah, I think it came out over the weekend, yeah.
I did see some movie on Netflix called Old Guard. It's on like their top 10.
Okay.
It seems pretty
So you watched
weird.
it? You watched it?
Yeah.
What's it about?
It's about people that don't really die. Eventually they die.
Okay.
But there was only a select few of them. There was probably like 7 throughout this whole movie.
Okay.
Some of them died, but this is after like thousands of years, stuff along those lines.
Okay.
So they don't just age, but they still technically die, and like they still feel pain. So if they get burned alive, they still feel that pain. And then they die for like 30 seconds, and then they come back to life.
Okay.
At the exact same location.
Oh.
So
it's like,
and they heal a lot faster as well.
Oh.
Yeah.
So it's like God mode in a video game.
Pretty much. Except there you take damage but like you just don't go down.
So what is it a drama? Is it what kind of show is it?
It's more action.
Is it a show or movie?
It's a movie.
It's a movie?
It's an action movie.
It's an action movie? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was pretty cool. There's some funny parts in it.
Who's in it? Any big name stars?
I don't believe so.
Okay. I'll have to
Oh wait, no. There is one person. So there is a guy from. Well, he's not even a big star, but he's from the Queen's Gambit. He was helping her. Okay,
I know what it is.
Yeah,
I just haven't seen it.
So there was one guy who was helping her with chess, like towards the beginning of it, and eventually Beth just gets way better than him, and he just falls out of chess completely.
Got it.
So that guy, there's one guy from Queen's Gambit that is in this game or in this movie. The other people, I had no clue who they were.
I'll have to check it out. You said Old Guard?
Yeah.
So Old Guard on Netflix. Check that out.
Aside from that, I haven't been up to anything.
So we actually, the wife and I, just started watching. Excuse me. We just started watching Yellowstone. So it's on Peacock. So I told Jim earlier today, I told him that we've been binging Yellowstone because
you said you've been obsessed with Yellowstone. I'm like, why? I'm like, the national park?
Yeah. I probably should have specified that I was talking about the TV show Yellowstone.
Yeah.
But we're watching it on Peacock. It was originally on Paramount. So the new season 4 just came out yesterday, actually, I think. So we're still on the first season. And then actually they just announced a prequel series starring, what's his name? Well, you got Tim McGraw, Faith Hill, and Sam Elliott. There we go, Sam Elliott.
Okay.
And so the prequel series is called 1883. It looks really good. Looks amazing. It's a cowboy western series. 1883 is, but the current show Yellowstone is about a family in Montana. They're basically extremely wealthy. They own a giant ranch called Yellowstone Dutton Ranch. And yeah, it's basically just following them. It's really, really cool. It's basically a drama. The family is totally messed up and screwed up, but we're obsessed. So the
like
show,
most families,
yeah, right. But the show was created by Taylor Sheridan, and he's an amazing director. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Wind River. Wind River is with Elizabeth Olsen and Jeremy Renner. It's also that show is also on an Indian reservation. Part of Yellowstone is like about their interactions with the local Indian reservation, the tribe. Okay. And so I kind of made the connection just individually because I loved the movie Wind River, and then I looked and I was like, oh, that's by the same guy. Makes sense. Taylor Sheridan. So it's an amazing, if you've never watched it, check it out. It's called Yellowstone. You can watch past seasons on Peacock, which is where I'm watching it. And then current season is, I believe, on Paramount Plus. And then the prequel series, 1883, premieres December 19th, I believe, on Paramount Plus. So definitely check that out. Yeah, so that's kind of the big thing that that we've been doing. I'm wasting too much time now, because it used to be like we would waste a lot of time just like watching an episode of a show like a day, and like those are an hour.
I watch
like
multiples.
Yeah, actually, that's what we did on Saturday night on daylight savings. Yeah. We're like, yeah, we got another hour, whatever. We'll watch a couple more episodes. So we did. Yeah. So anyway.
Oh, I was at a party this weekend. It was a game night party.
Oh.
There was like 10 of us.
Where's my invite?
You didn't want to be there.
Okay.
It was with my family and my dad, his a friend of his, a lady friend of his, and her family. There was like 10 of us there. Mm-hmm. We were playing some video games, old school Sega Saturn.
Yeah,
is what we were playing. We were playing some Bomberman.
Bomberman, there you go.
And then aside from that, we played Dungeon Mayhem.
Of course you did.
And then we played Cards Against Humanity.
Okay.
Every single one of them loved Dungeon Mayhem. And I'm not surprised.
No, because that game's amazing.
Because every person I've played that game with has loved it.
All right. So actually, no, we've talked a little bit about Dungeon Mayhem on the show before. Mm-hmm. But if you don't know, Jim, explain what Dungeon Mayhem is for those in the audience who have no idea what it is.
Yeah, so it's pretty much a card game, and you're trying to be the last person alive, right? It takes some ideas from Dungeons and Dragons, because it in fact is Dungeons and Dragons Dungeon Mayhem.
Yeah, it's the characters.
Yeah,
it's the characters from Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, so and all these different characters have there's generic abilities like deal 1 damage, shield, gain a draw a card, and then gain a life. But then the characters themselves have specific abilities. Mm-hmm. So like the wizard has fireball that hits every single person at the table for 3 damage, including yourself. Mm-hmm. Or there's a barbarian who does like a lot of burst damage. It's the only one in the game that can deal like 4 damage on a single card. Mm-hmm. Or we can now go into like the expansions and talk about the monsters that they came out with. Mm-hmm. And you can play all of these together because it's pretty much the exact same thing. Mm-hmm. You can be a dragon, a beholder, which is just a giant eyeball. Mm-hmm. And you have magical powers.
My favorite is the mimic.
Yes,
that's my favorite character.
It's pretty great.
It's my favorite character in the game. If you're familiar with Magic, I like the way Jim described it to me the first time we sat down. He said it's Commander Light.
Yeah, which
it basically is.
It really is.
It basically is.
If you like Commander, you're gonna like this game. Well, as long as it's more than 2 people.
Yes, which we haven't even played. You and I have not played.
You don't want to play it.
No, right. I agree. I've played it multiplayer. Yeah, and I feel like 1v1 it would just be really boring and very predictable.
Yeah. It's like, oh, I'm going to hit you for 3. Well, now I just draw cards and then
it's different. Down. It's different when you start the game of like 4 player mm-hmm. and then it goes down to 1v1.
Yeah, that's different.
That is a lot different than one game that is just strict 1v1 the whole way.
Yeah,
the whole way.
So we played one game this weekend and of Dungeon Mayhem, and everyone was getting low. My sister, she kind of popped off with the owl bear and hit everyone for like 5 damage, right?
Wow.
And so then it goes around the table. Everyone's super low. I'm like, okay, I can get everyone to 3 damage because I also drew into fireball. Mm-hmm. So then it was time to unleash it. So I dropped the fireball, killed everyone, including myself. No one won.
That is a very Jim thing. That is totally something Jim would do.
Yeah.
See, I wouldn't do that because I would be like, I'm going to die, though, and I need to win. So
you definitely win the mental battle.
Yeah, well, depending on what your mental state is, like Jim would 100% every single time classify that as a win.
Yeah.
For me, there might be like, I don't know, 2 out of 10 times I classify it as a win. Every other time I count it as a loss.
Right.
But, Jim is just messed up.
No one killed you. No one else killed you. Plus you also thinking about it in terms of like other games where it's like, how many kills did I get? How many times did I die? Well, I only died once, but I killed 7 people.
What's your KD ratio?
Yeah. That's my KDA.
Yeah.
KDR.
7-1-0. There we go. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Except we're not playing Call of Duty, Jim.
Yeah.
We're not playing Call
or
of Duty.
most damage. I dealt the most damage that game.
There you go. You could be keeping score. Like you could be keeping a running tally.
Yeah.
That could be how you're deciding who's the ultimate winner.
Yeah.
Everyone
knows you deal the most damage, you're the best.
Yeah. What about counter the most spells? Except that's not a thing in Dungeon Mayhem, though.
Yeah, no.
Oh, right? Correct.
Yeah,
it's not. I don't think so. Yeah.
There's no playing on your opponent's turn.
That's right. So yeah, if you've never checked out Dungeon Mayhem, definitely check it out. It's a lot of fun, and it's probably one of those games to where if you sit down, you could be playing for hours upon hours.
Yeah.
Depending on who's just sitting at the table.
Oh man,
That's
I
a real
played that
possibility.
game for 7 hours before. Not the exact same game, but for the whole night, we played a lot of different games for 7 hours.
Yeah. That's a real possibility for sure. All right. So, video games.
I was going to say, let's get into our topic.
Yeah. So video games and board games. So, okay. So there's 3 video games / board games that I want to talk about first, and then we'll get into a few other things. Okay. So recently there's these 3 video games that have turned into board games that I'm pretty excited for. The oldest, I should say, is I should say the oldest that I found out about is Stardew Valley. Okay. Yeah. So Stardew Valley, if you're not familiar, I believe it originally came out on Steam. So originally came out
I believe it was on PC.
It was originally on PC. And I spent an ungodly number of hours playing that game. Okay.
How would you have multiplayer?
Now you do. Yeah, you didn't. You didn't before.
I was so upset before.
You didn't. I wasn't because I'm more of a when it comes to video games, I'm more of a single player. I'm more of a single player type of guy. Single player type person.
I get that.
I love playing RPGs on like video game RPGs alone. That's just those are the kind of games I enjoy as video games, right? So Stardew Valley was right up my alley. So Stardew Valley is basically like a farm simulation / RPG set in like the 90s almost. And when I say 90s, what I mean is like the art style in the video game.
Yeah, like the 16-bit graphics.
Yes.
Type of thing.
Yeah. Let's see.
It's like Animal Crossing plus a combat game.
Yeah, it's really interesting. So the amazing thing about that game was the entire game was built and designed by one guy.
Wow.
One guy, Concerned Ape. I think his name's Robert Perone, maybe. I can't remember what his real name is, but he went by Concerned Ape.
Okay.
That game put him on the map. And so about a year ago? I can't remember when. I'd have to look up the timetable of when they turned it into a board game. Okay, so the video game turned out to be insanely popular.
Yeah,
it was crazy. I'd never seen a video game that popular in a couple of years, to be honest. And it's weird because the game was like really simple. It was just so addicting. It was insanely addicting. So basically the premise of the game was you took over this farm from a grandfather, I believe. Like he passed away and left this farm to you. So you had to take care of the farm. You could grow trees, you could grow fruit, you could grow a lot of plants.
Yeah.
You could sell them. There was a dungeon that was in town that you could go explore. There was plenty of people in town. You could go do jobs. You could go fish. There's a ton of stuff. So that's why we say it's like a farm simulation type of game. There was just packed chock full with a ton of different activities you could do. Look at the activities we can do.
I was going to say, it's pretty much like essentially Minecraft, although you don't really get to build your houses. It's more of just like plants and stuff.
Yeah,
and the combat is a lot like Minecraft as well.
Yes, yeah, it is. It is. I've never played Minecraft personally, but I know enough about Minecraft to know how it's like. Yeah, that's right. You didn't really you designed what was inside of the farm, and you could buy stuff to put on the farm.
Yeah.
And I do remember I was on this one forum, and it wasn't even on Reddit. It was some other forum, but it was people were showing off all of their farm creations on Stardew Valley of like how their farm looked, and like it was crazy, like some of the designs that they came up with. So anyway, so they turned that into a board game. Now, at first glance, like that game is not a game that would have initially struck me as a game that would make for a good board game.
Right.
Because to me, now, I think this honestly goes to show the talent of the creator, Concerned Ape. Like, that's not something that I would have really been able to problem solve. Because honestly, with design really is problem solving, is having an idea and then figuring out how to make that idea into what you want it to be.
A resource management game, and there's a lot of resources.
Yeah.
In that game.
So anyway, I believe that game was. I don't know if it wasn't kickstarted. It was on one of the crowdsourcing platforms. Yeah. I believe it was on GameFound. I'm not totally sure. Or actually, might have gone out for pre-order. I can't even remember. But that thing sold out like that. It sold out so fast, which was not unexpected because of the popularity of the popularity of the IP. So anyway, I honestly initially I'm like, I don't know how that game would have been a good board game. Now we just watched a quick just video of the board game. And I still don't know how it's going to make a good board game. But apparently it's really good. So that is one game you should definitely check out. You can can purchase that right now. It is up for order. I believe they just put some in stock on whatever website it is. And actually, I'm going to see if I can find it right now real quick. So let's see here. Because I just got a notification. So shop.stardewvalley.net. It looks like, it is in stock right now, but it is only shipping to the US right now. So
if you're outside the US, hopefully you have a friend inside the US that can send it to you.
So his name is Eric Burrow, and that was what I thought. Okay. So what they say on their website is work together with your fellow farmers to save the valley from the nefarious Joja Corporation. I remember the Joja Corporation. That was who you worked for.
Wait a minute. Did the board game come out before multiplayer on the computer?
I don't know.
Okay, because if it did, you had to wait until the board game came out to play multiplayer of the game before you could even do it.
No, I mean, I think it might have been announced before, but I mean, multiplayer has been out for a couple of years now, hasn't it?
I don't believe it's been a few years now.
Well, see if you can find it. See if you can find it real quick. Okay, so anyway. So to do this, you'll need to farm, fish, friend, and find all kinds of different resources to fulfill Grandpa's goals and restore the community center. That was the whole thing in the video game, was restoring the community center. That was basically what you were working towards. Collect all kinds of items, raise animals, and explore the mine. The mine was basically the dungeon. Gain powerful upgrades and skills, and as the seasons pass, do your best to protect the magic of Stardew Valley. All right, the complexity of the game, it's really important to us that as a buyer, you understand Stardew Valley. The board game is not a casual, quick game. You would know that, most likely, if you played the video game, that you would not be surprised. So while it is easy to play once you know the rules, it's meant to be challenging. We wanted an experience with depth and replayability. If your game group or family prefers short playtimes, less than 45 minutes, with a small number of rules and components, this game might not be a good fit. So if you go to their website, you can check out a copy of the rule book. It is $55 on their website. Honestly, that is not a terrible price for a board game nowadays. What'd you find?
August 2018. So 3 years now.
Yeah, so it's been a while.
Yeah. So when did the board game
multiplayer definitely came out before the board game. The board game I don't even think has been out a year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That would have been so funny too.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, Stardew Valley is a game I need to get for my collection. I mean, I was a big fan of Stardew Valley. I mean, didn't you play?
I played it for a little bit, but I had to put it to the side just because I'm not really the biggest fan of single player games.
Yeah, so this was when it was single player only.
Yeah, exactly.
So now it is multiplayer, and you, I assume, have not gone back to it.
I haven't played it yet. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't gone back to it in a while, but I mean, I'm trying to remember when this would have been, like before I started doing YouTube stuff. That was when I was like, I wasted. I mean, I say waste. It was not wasted. I mean, let's be real. Let's be real. It's not wasted time when you're playing some of these video games, honestly. I don't consider it wasted time. It's not. Like, dude, it's not. I mean, you agree with me.
Sometimes.
I know you agree with me.
So, kind of, actually. Recently, I'm now semi out of... It's actually more hardcore now. I used to think So when I was playing MMOs, it was really the only game I was playing. So World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy, stuff along those lines. Games that weren't online, that you couldn't pretty much give your stuff to other people online, I thought was a waste. Not to mention, I was able to make money off of these MMOs. So then it really turned into, I could either be spending time making money in these games or playing a single player game where it's literally I'm there killing time.
So
now it's gotten even worse.
So I will say one thing. I will say one thing. Yes, playing video games and even tabletop board games can be a time waster. It can be. All of it goes to your frame of mind, your frame of reference, and what your goal is, what you're trying to accomplish. Yeah. If your goal is to have a good time and enjoy your experiences that you find in these games, it's not a waste of time. Yeah. This is a totally... I mean, this is a topic in and of itself, to be honest. It totally is. I just remember growing up in the age that I grew up. The thought among the quote unquote higher ups was, if you're playing video games, what are you doing? You're wasting your time. Yeah. And now you look and see all of the millionaires that have been created from just playing video games. So don't you tell me that playing video games is just a waste of time. Sorry. But again, honestly, it does all go back to your frame of mind, your frame of reference. Yeah. Like if you're not trying to accomplish something, then whatever you're doing is a waste of time. Yep. It is. It totally is. Totally is. So anyway, I will get down off my soapbox. All right, I'm off. All right. So the next one, did you want to touch on anything else with Stardew Valley before we move on?
I don't believe so.
Okay. So the next one, and this game kind of got me into the rabbit hole of Kickstarters, I believe, was The Witcher 3: The Old World. So The Witcher... Well, it's called The Witcher: The Old World. With The Witcher: Old World. So this is a board game set in the Witcher universe. So The Witcher is a series of games, books, developed by CD Projekt Red. And they were basically RPGs, role-playing games, for different video game systems. So the big one that got me hooked was The Witcher 3. That was the most recent Witcher game. And I absolutely loved that game. The storytelling, just everything in that game was amazing and fantastic. And that kind of got me hooked onto basic all things Witcher. Recently, was it last year? It was either last year or the year before when they did the Witcher Netflix series.
Yeah, I forget exactly.
It might have been 2 years ago now. It had to have been because last year with COVID. It had to have been 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, no. Well, it might have come out last year because I remember when I was sick, was all I watched. I binged that in like 2 days.
So it could have been early last year or late 2019.
What it most likely was, because it came out. I remember it coming out in about March of 2020. They had to have done it. They had to have been developing it for at least a year before that.
Yeah.
So 2020, it makes the most sense. All right. So they have that series, which season 2 of The Witcher on Netflix comes out December 19th, I believe. We cannot wait for
December 2019.
Yeah. So wait, December 2019 is when it came out?
Yes, December 20th, 2019 is when it released.
Is when it released on Netflix?
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay. Yeah, then I guess I watched it. I must have just watched it then in March. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's right, because I was out. I was gone during that time period, right? Yeah, I was gone. I was on vacation late December. So yeah, I would not have seen it then. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, that video game just really put me into the Witcher hole, and I love everything in that's set in that universe. Mm-hmm. So when I looked at this game, I was like, dude, this looks awesome. It really does look like the Witcher 3 video game put into a board game. So one of the things that's really cool is like, I mean, if you've ever played The Witcher, a lot of these RPGs, they have maps, right, that you can come up and see. And so that's one thing that makes these board games kind of feel like you're playing the video game almost, is if they have a map, they put it right out there. That is something very easy, and that's tactile, that you can really see. That's a part of the universe that is now, okay, we now have a board, for instance, okay? That's like the base, and I think everything is then built off of that almost. So The Witcher 3 just really looked awesome. So when I saw it, I'm like, all right, I'm in. So I back that. It's like, so I think it's like an adventure game. I honestly don't know how to describe it, but they've got minis. You can take on the role of a Witcher. I think the story is set before the time period of the video game. So it's set before Geralt, I believe. Yeah, it is set before Geralt.
I was gonna say it would make sense if it's old world.
Yeah. Correct. So it is before Geralt, and it is around the time when the different schools of the Witcher are being formed. So you can take on the role of one of these Witchers from the set schools. So
I'm gonna say, is it 4 different ones or 5 different ones?
There's 5 different ones. And then also you can also play as Ciri. Yeah. And so one of the things that they did, if you're not familiar with The Witcher, I mean, just go check it out. There's a lot of resources that you can find online about the universe. So Ciri is, if you're unfamiliar, Ciri is the daughter of the Queen of Sintra, who Geralt is basically in charge of, essentially. Yeah. He is her guardian, essentially. Mm-hmm. And so she is of like elven pureblood, essentially. And she's insanely powerful, but she doesn't know it, right? So part of what you're doing in the video game is she's learning a lot of this, and they go, and this is really a big plot point of
spoilers.
Well, not a plot point, but that's what they're doing in the
season comes out in December.
Well, that's what you find out in season 1. I'm not spoiling anything. I'm spoiling 0 things.
It's only been out for almost 2 years.
Yeah, I'm not spoiling anything. You find all this stuff out, so whatever. Shut up, Jim.
We got them, boys.
So anyway, they introduced Ciri in the board game, and they were like, one of the things that Ciri can do is like, they were like, she can time travel somehow. So they explained it. They explained it in a way to where it would make sense in the context of their game. So instead of saying, here's this bonus character that makes literally no sense in the context of this game, but they gave some context to say, here it does make sense in this context. So she is a playable character, but it's like an additional character, I think. So it's not something that comes in the base set of the game. Mm-hmm. But anyway, so this game is, I mean, if we just talk about the universe, right? The Witcher universe, that is something to me that honestly, before I got into tabletop, I wouldn't have thought it would have made sense to make into a board game. Because again, like my experience in the tabletop, industry and board games.
Yeah.
Used to be like Monopoly and stuff like that. Like I didn't know there were so many different types of board games that were out there. But now that I'm like really in it, right?
You know that there's a whole lot of different things.
I know there's a ton. And I would look at The Witcher and I'd be like, oh yeah, totally.
Yeah.
That is totally something.
There's so many RPG games that they could do it.
Yeah,
with.
and a lot of them they classify them as like adventure games.
Yeah.
Almost. So yeah, I was excited. I was excited about The Witcher. So that was on GameFound, I believe. Now I don't know. I think you can still do a late pledge for it, I believe. So there's a ton of content that you can actually get for this. There's minis, there's dice, there's cards. There's a lot of things that go into this game. They've got an expansion almost like for Skellige, so you can go to Skellige, the Isles.
I don't really know a whole lot about Witcher.
Did you not play The Witcher 3?
I played very little of 3. I wasn't the biggest fan of the controls.
Okay.
It was also on PC, so like using mouse and keyboard, it was very awkward.
You could have used a controller.
I didn't have a controller.
You didn't have one?
Not at that time, no.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that is it's a thing. Like if you're a PC player, you definitely know that's a thing. There's some games I tried playing I don't know if it's the most recent, but there's a Star Wars game where you're a young Jedi. I mean, are you a Jedi? I can't even remember. I can't remember the name of it. Like I have the picture. I've got the picture.
I know it's the guy who's from Shameless, the red-haired kid.
Yes. He's also in Gotham. He plays the Joker in Gotham. Yeah. Jedi Fallen Order. Okay. There it is. Boom.
I'm like, I know the dude's face. Yes.
Yep. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. I started playing that game on PC, and I'm like, screw it. I'm on PC. I'm playing mouse and keyboard, and I went into it. I'm like, okay, no, I'm picking up my controller. I can't do it.
There are just some games that are just better. Like
shooters, 100% mouse and keyboard all day, every day. Right. Absolutely, mouse and keyboard. But a game like that, to where no. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. Like it's no.
Yeah.
I can't play a game like that with mouse and keyboard. There's just no way.
Yeah. They're a lot more difficult, that's for sure.
Yeah. So all right. So anyway, Witcher, are you excited about that? That game?
The game? It seems really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, especially the minis. Oh, I'd love to have those. Boy.
So like the Leshen, oh my word, the Leshen is one of my favorite monsters from that game. Well, I should say universe. I'm excited for season 2 because in the trailer you can see that they are doing a Leshen, and then you see Geralt and Ciri just chopping off all the wood or whatever.
Yeah,
it looks awesome. Somebody made a comment of something's different about this. Oh, that's right, higher budget.
Higher budget.
And you watch a trailer and you're like, oh yeah, they're definitely spending a lot more money on this season. And they deservedly so too, because that first season was so good.
It was phenomenal. That got a lot of people who didn't even know anything about The Witcher or didn't even like The Witcher games into that series.
Correct. All right, so moving on. The last game.
Oh man, I like this one.
The last game that I want to touch on real quick is relatively recent. Again, same vein as Witcher. It's the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim, the adventure game. So, again, beforehand, like if this were a couple of years ago, I would have looked at that at Skyrim and been like. Yeah. Dude, Skyrim is not a game that you can turn into a board game. Like, it's not. But now I'm like, oh, yeah.
I'm like, you could even turn it into a themed Monopoly as well. Just take the locations.
Dude, I get, you know what? I'm looking that up. Do they have, let's find out. Do they have Skyrim Monopoly?
I wouldn't be surprised if they did.
Skyrim Monopoly. Okay, if I can spell Monopoly. Skyrim Monopoly board. Oh, look, Monopoly Skyrim edition.
Uh-oh.
Oh, don't. I
Thanks,
don't
Obama.
want. Yeah, thanks, Walmart. No, just leave me alone. Oh, for crying out loud. Just allow. I find what I'm looking for and then has to open up this dumb app. I don't want to open up an app. There it is. There you go.
Yep.
Monopoly Skyrim edition.
Knew it.
They have every single.
I didn't even know it, but I knew it.
Oh, wait. Hang on. This is what I need to do when we say Monopoly. Monopoly. I gotta get the sigh in there.
So I recently learned that there's a pretty big meme about Skyrim. So the people that didn't really know about the previous Elder Scroll games, right?
When it came, you mean when it came out, right?
Yeah. So when Skyrim came out, a lot of people that didn't know about the older Elder Scroll games, when they learned about some of the other ones, they're like, "Oh, I love Skyrim 4."
They say that?
Yeah.
Dude, that's hilarious.
I'm like, no, that was Oblivion.
Yeah, 4 was Oblivion, man. Come on.
And I recently, I played a little bit of Skyrim a little more, and I really like 4 more than 5. Oblivion, I like more than Skyrim.
I can't play any of them now.
Yeah.
I can't because they're so old now.
Yeah.
Skyrim was like...
It's been out for 10 years.
Dude, it has. It's been out for 10 freaking years, man.
I think it came out on the 360, right?
Yeah, 360 and PS3. That was I played the crap out of Skyrim on PS3. Wow. I platinumed that game on the PS3, man.
I was gonna say, I think it's been on almost every console.
Yes, it has
since the 360.
Correct.
Was it on the Wii? I don't know.
No,
if it was on the
wouldn't
Wii
have been
or
on
Wii
the
U.
Wii.
Yeah.
No, it could not have been on the Wii. Wii U, I don't even know if it would have been able to handle the Wii U.
Yeah, I don't know.
I do not think.
Probably
I don't
not.
know. But that
it is on the Switch though.
Yeah. So. That game was like anytime they came out with a new console, it was, oh look, hey, we have Skyrim too. which again, so the thing about Skyrim, like for me, was my introduction into the Elder Scrolls universe.
Yeah.
Which was a lot of people's introduction to the Elder Scrolls universe, because that was the game for the Elder Scrolls universe that was introduced on all of the consoles.
Yeah.
Like before that, like Oblivion, it was only on PC. All of those games, I believe,
it was also
up to when Skyrim was released.
Oh, Oblivion was on Xbox and 360.
Okay, so
it also had Game of the Year on Xbox.
So when Oblivion came out, you're telling me like its street date, they had an Xbox version.
I mean, I could find out.
Well, right, we can find out. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know exactly. It's just been so long.
Right, but what I'm saying was Skyrim was the Elder Scrolls game.
Oh, that was on everything.
That introduced the Elder Scrolls to the masses. So, and that was what got me into the Elder Scrolls. Excuse me. And the thing that I loved, about Skyrim was the storytelling. And that's honestly why I love RPGs, is the storytelling in RPGs.
We're almost... Oh, wait, what's today? What's today's date?
The 8th?
Oh, 3 more days, and it will be the 10th year.
Because it was released on November
Skyrim.
11th. I remember when it was released. I remember I was with my friend. I was with my buddy at the time. And we were talking about going to the local GameStop at midnight to pick up his copy.
So the original release date was on PC and 360, November 22nd, 2005 for Oblivion.
For Oblivion?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. But I feel like the majority of players of that game played it on PC for the most part. I believe.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, that's something we'd have to do a little bit more looking into. But anyway, again, Skyrim was the one that really introduced Elder Scrolls to to everybody. It really was. But what you say, Skyrim 4.
Yeah, Skyrim
4. That's funny.
Yeah.
Okay, so Skyrim, the adventure game, the board game, just came out on GameFound. So they reached
This looks really
their
good.
goal was 100,000 pounds. 100,000 pounds. and
how much did they crush it?
They reached their goal in 28 minutes and 44 seconds. So right now,
$2 million.
Right now, no. Okay. Right now they're at 674,000. Okay. They just hit over 4,000 backers.
You say they beat it in 28 minutes or something?
That's nothing though.
Yeah.
That's nothing.
I mean, that's still quick.
I mean, it is. Yeah. But I've seen Kickstarters that have hit their goal in like 5 minutes. Yeah. There have been ones like that. So
I guess it also depends on like the goal that they're looking for could really matter.
Yeah, and I'd be interested to know how some of these crowdsourcing platforms, like I have a goal of $1. Okay, well that's not really realistic. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like what kind of I'd assume they have some sort of rules set in place that like
a minimum or something?
I don't know if it'd be a minimum because it'd have to be, if it was a minimum, it'd have to be something that would be applied globally to every single project. And that doesn't make sense because you have so many different types of projects.
Yeah.
So I would assume it would be something to the effect of, all right, like they would have a conversation with the designers and say, okay, what's your goals? Like, let's see your projections. Let's see your numbers. I don't know. Like I'm spitballing here of what my thoughts are.
Right.
So I'd be interested to know. Okay. So anyway, so this game was designed by Modifius Entertainment. Here. So here's 2 quotes that I'm seeing here. If you're someone who's played Skyrim before and you're wondering whether a tabletop adaptation would be really cool, or you're looking for a narrative-driven game, you just love the IP of Skyrim. I mean, this is the ticket. This really is. I don't know who Adam Smith is. Okay.
Some random guy.
All right. So again, they've got the map basically of the reach, which I can't. Well, Skyrim. The location is Skyrim.
Yeah.
And then they've got a ton of different cards. I'm like talking myself into backing this game. What am I doing?
Seems really cool.
What am I doing? Jim, stop me! Stop me, Jim!
Where's your wife?
There's 3 different tiers.
I'll be right
back. There's 3 different tiers. Of course, there's minis, tokens, cubes, dice. So it looks like it's a narrative-driven game where you've got a card, 500 plus narrative cards to evolve your story. Yeah. I mean, again,
these are all like quest cards that will change up the game.
Yeah, you can build your character. Like they've got. What you said was the player boards.
Yeah,
the player boards look really cool.
Yeah.
Oh my word, I'm like,
those are definitely not low quality. It seems like.
Oh my goodness, I'm just looking at all the token. Oh my word, I'm like this close to just hitting back now. My word. Oh my goodness. Back of this project button is like screaming at me right now. Dan, back this game. Don't do it. Don't do it. No, do it. Oh my word. So, I mean, oh gosh.
Dan, put the phone down.
All right. So, okay. Is that a game? I mean, it sounds like it's a game you're excited for.
It seems really cool. And I do like the minis as well. A game, I've noticed that when a game now has minis, I'm a lot more interested in it.
Yeah.
Especially since I do enjoy painting them.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Like, we can make this look gorgeous.
I still have yet to paint minis, something I want to get into. Yeah. But I do have some games that have some minis that I would need to get painted. Like Power Rangers Heroes of the Grid.
That's a lot of minis.
That is a lot of minis. But they look really, really cool. Unmatched actually has some minis.
Isn't it the Batman game as well?
Yes. Batman Gotham City Under Siege definitely has minis as well. Okay. So we just went through 3 recent board game adaptations of video games. Yeah. Now, all 3 of them now as a tabletop player, okay, are projects that I can totally see becoming real projects and turning into a board game.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would have been able to say the same thing 3 or 4 years ago. I don't know. Probably not. I probably would have said there's no way.
Makes sense.
There's no way this game would make a good board game. Now, So where we are now, like, what are some things that you would look for, or would you look for anything in a video game that would tell you or say to you, this would make a really good board game, Jim? Like, what are some things that that come to mind for you real quick? I mean, for me, one thing is a map. Like the RPGs, like having a map is like a perfect, okay, well, there's your board. Your board can be the map.
Yep.
And then now it's like with all the card games we've played, we can just turn everything else into cards.
Yeah, you can.
Like with all the story, again, like looking at
different
Skyrim.
Equipments.
So like any RPG, I now look at Skyrim and The Witcher and say, okay, there's a template of they look like they're done well. Now, time will tell. We'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait to get our hands on both those games and play them and kind of see what they're like. But I feel like those are two projects that seem like good templates. So RPGs, you got a map. Okay, there's your board.
Yep.
That's one thing that I think.
I mean, you probably also have monsters that you're going to be killing. So then you have like then you have to figure out your combat system, whether it's going to be dice or flip cards face over, if there's a monster deck, things along those lines.
Right.
I mean, then if you're also throwing the storyline or quest into it, kind of like what The Witcher has, or Skyrim, where there's a lot of different quests, which also makes sense.
The player boards look really cool in that game.
Yeah,
they look really cool. There's a lot of creators who've done a lot of videos on this game on Skyrim. I kind of want to take a look at those and kind of see
more at it.
and look more at it to see if it's a project that I'd like to back. But yeah. So those are definitely ones for sure.
Yeah, I mean, really, like if you can make a Stardew Valley game,
if you can make a Stardew Valley board game, you can make anything. Here's one for you: Street Fighter.
Street Fighter. Well, I mean, there's a card game for Street Fighter.
Yeah, there's a Street Fighter deck building game. Yeah. And you know what system that's based off of?
Isn't it the Versus series?
No, that's Cryptozoic.
Oh, okay.
So Cryptozoic Entertainment, well, it's the Cerberus engine is what they call it.
Okay.
They call it the Cerberus engine, which is what all of the DC deck building games are based off of. Like the +1 power, essentially. Right. So every DC deck building game system is based off of the Cerberus engine. They have another IP. It is more adult themed. I can't remember the name of it. I'll have to find it, but that's also based off the Cerberus engine.
Okay.
And so the Street Fighter one is one that I want to pick up. Is also based around the Cerberus engine.
Right.
But that's how they did Street Fighter, was they made it into a deck building game.
Okay.
So a fighting game is one to where I'd be very interested to see how else you would turn a fighting game into a board game.
Well, I mean,
but I feel like a deck building game is like the perfect.
I was gonna say, I mean, there is a wrestling card game.
Oh yeah, there is. Super Show. The game was awesome. Yeah, I mean, a card game can be like any IP.
Yeah,
you can really turn any IP into a card game.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Lord of the Rings. You got Arkham Horror; those are two big IPs. Legendary, or the Alien, Alien and Predator are both deck building games in the Legendary.
Put anything
system.
from Monopoly.
Correct, correct. But I mean, that's different though.
Yeah,
that's a little different, but it is still thematic because I have Fallout Monopoly. I enjoy playing that because again, everything is themed around the Fallout universe.
I think the best Monopoly that are out there are the Mario Gamer ones.
Yeah, those are fun.
Those are pretty great. There's a Mario Kart one along with just a normal, which is essentially Mario Party.
Yeah,
which
without the mini games.
Yeah.
Without the mini games.
Which is pretty great.
Yeah, Mario Party was the game that was the game that I always wanted to play. I remember when they first came out with those on the N64. That was the one that I always wanted to play, was the Mario Party.
That angered so many people. It's a good thing you didn't.
Oh yeah. And back then, oh boy, it would have been bad for me.
Yeah,
really bad. So let's see again, I feel like now I'm at the point to where any good designer can most likely take any video game and turn it into a board game.
Yeah.
Now, I do feel like with the rise of narrative-driven games, RPGs are probably the prime types of games that are going to make board games now. Yeah. I mean, again, just look at Witcher and Skyrim. Those are two super popular IPs that have now been turned into board games. I mean, they're both successful projects.
Yeah.
They've both been successfully funded. They blew their numbers out of the water. And again, time will tell to see if they're good or not. But I've heard nothing but good things about The Witcher and all of the recent, the pre-reviews, excuse me.
Have you played Pandemic at all?
I haven't.
Okay. So
go ahead.
They recently came out with a game that was Target exclusive, I believe it was. World of Warcraft.
That was Target exclusive?
Yeah.
No.
It said only at Target.
No, you're kidding me.
When I saw the ad, it was talking about only at Target. If it says that, I would assume it's Target exclusive unless it's for a limited time, but it didn't say anything about limited time.
Well, it could be that they have specific pieces.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's not Target exclusive.
Okay.
It's not Target exclusive. Let me see the Target one. So, for example, like the Villainous.
Yeah.
There was with every Villainous game, I believe, with exception to the base. If you bought it at Target, they had a Target edition to where they had a specific piece. So, like the Marvel Villainous, the most recent Marvel Villainous, the Loki piece there was a different version if you bought it at Target.
Okay.
Yeah, because I'm looking at it on Target's website.
Yeah.
I don't see anything that is Target exclusive. Now, Target, oh man, I kind of want to buy it now because it says Arlen Park. They've got them in stock. Target has really gotten into the board game space.
Their collection has blown up. That's for sure.
But I think because they've seen the surge and the popularity of the space.
Yeah.
So this is not exclusive to Target. I don't think. Here we go. Z-Man Games. Let's see here because this is the designer, I believe, or is it? No, I think they're the publisher. I'm just looking on their website just to see if they say anything. They're not saying anything on their website, so I don't believe. I'd be interested to know what you saw then.
It was an ad on Facebook in the bottom corner. It said only at Target.
Okay, so something on the ad said only at Target. Okay. All right, yeah, I'd be interested to see that. But I mean, Target is a. So I will say, support your LGS.
Yeah,
support your LGS if you can, if you have one, right? But it like places like Target are nice to have, especially if you don't have an LGS, which I know there's a lot of rural areas which don't have an LGS.
Or if you don't like your LGS.
Correct. Or if your LGS tries to screw you out of money. You do not want to
support them.
Yeah, if your LGS tries to screw you out of money, don't go there.
Yeah.
I mean, again, we view, and again, this is something we want to live by. Yeah. We view an LGS, yes, as a business, but also as a community, right? And you don't want to screw over your community members normally, right?
You should want these people to keep coming back.
Correct.
Week after week.
And not just because you want to take money from them. That's really not it. It's you want to foster relationships. And honestly, there's so many people at Grapple that we still have relationships with because
I talked to so many.
Yeah, I mean, because we've wanted to foster those relationships and really grow those relationships because they're people that we've met in the hobby and we want to keep them in the hobby and we want to keep playing games with them.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's definitely a community. Yes, the owners of the LGS, yes, they're running a business. They're trying to make a profit. They're trying to make money. They're trying to live. Yes, understood. We get all of that.
Yeah.
But you do also want to be fostering a community.
Yeah.
So
and when we're also saying screwing you out of money, we're not just meaning like they're not keeping up with Amazon prices.
Yeah, that's
a different.
That's a
thing.
totally different thing.
It's like, oh, you're going in there to try and sell something, and they're giving you 20%, and not even telling you how much your cards are cost, or if there's a board game, whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
I think screwing your customers is something that if it's happening, you kind of know it's happening. You know, there's a clear and obvious difference between running a business and trying to make money. And trying to make a profit versus actively being dishonest and trying to be basically disingenuous and dishonest with your customers and your clientele.
Yeah.
So yeah, if your LGS is like that, then no, don't support someone who really doesn't, at the end of the day, does not care about you as a consumer.
Yeah.
So just something to keep in mind. So anyway, so card games really are like the mode, honestly. If you want to take any board game or video game and turn it into a tabletop game, I feel like
pretty much. Yeah.
Like card game is like the easiest way to do it. And that's, again, like we said, what was it? Street Fighter. Street Fighter. Like, that's one game I'm like, well, wait, what? There's a Street Fighter game? What?
Yeah.
So, all right, if you could pick one game that is not, one video game that is not a board game that you would love to see as a board game, what would it be and why? That's difficult. Yeah, as you're thinking about that, think about it. Kingdom Hearts. Kingdom Hearts is another game that there's a new Kingdom Hearts board game coming out, I believe. I think there's actually a couple different Kingdom Hearts games that are on the market or coming to.
Yeah, I think one's like Talisman or something.
There is a Talisman. Yeah. Talisman is a system, I believe, of games. There's a Batman Talisman edition, and there's also a Kingdom Hearts one. But there's also another by USA. I'm gonna find it right now, real quick. I believe it was by USA-opoly. I can't remember the name of the company.
I think if I really had to pick, I'd want to see a Pokemon game turned into a board game, like a good board game. They had Master Collection like in the 90s or early 2000s. I forget when it came out, and that game was dreadful.
So, well, think about this. So, we talked about maps, right?
Yeah.
Dude, like every single Pokemon game has a map.
Yeah, it's not like there's 8 different generations and they
all
have a
I want to see one now. Now you say that, I totally want to see Pokemon. 100%.
Yeah.
Okay, so Kingdom Hearts Perilous Pursuit is on pre-order. It's cheap. It's like $27, $30. Yeah, so $30. Yeah, USA-opoly. So usually a cheap game is something I'm typically wary of. Yeah. Because I'm more into the, we're strategy game players. So we're looking for like the challenging games. Usually the cheap games are quick. Usually.
The other day I was thinking about picking up a PlayStation 2 and getting Kingdom Hearts again.
Bro, it's on Steam. You can get it on PC.
Look, man. I said PlayStation 2.
I know you said PlayStation 2, but then you said Kingdom Hearts 2.
Yeah.
You can play.
No. Dan, I like to play things the old school way.
Why?
You're talking to a guy who has N64,
I know.
OG PlayStation.
Right, dude, but
it's a completely different feeling.
But you can't play like SNES. I mean, there are emulators.
Yeah.
But I'm more saying legally.
It's legal if you don't get caught, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, so there is Kingdom Hearts Perilous Pursuits is the new.
That was not legal advice, just so we're clear on that.
Do not take this as legal advice, right? So Perilous Pursuits, a cooperative chase to defeat the Heartless. There's dice involved. I mean, it looks interesting. I love Kingdom Hearts. And it's definitely the Kingdom Hearts 3 artwork. Yeah. If you look at the character models, it's definitely Kingdom Hearts 3. So take that for what it is.
I was also trying to think of like a Final Fantasy board game, which they have this Chocobo World one, but it's
yeah, right.
It's
like
not
you want like the Final Fantasy, like Final Fantasy 7. I want to see a
Yeah.
Final Fantasy 7 board game.
I want to see a Final Fantasy 3.
Final Fantasy 3
or any ones that have the job classes.
I want to see Final Fantasy Tactics.
Oh yes,
I want to see Final Fantasy Tactics.
Please
board
make it
game.
happen.
That would be good.
So we think that they're either making a remaster or a second Final Fantasy Tactics, not including the advanced one that came out.
Are they really?
And so recently they came out and there has been a leak about Final Fantasy Tactics.
Interesting.
So something's in the works.
What platform would that be on? Switch?
I believe it's on Switch. Yeah.
I got rid of my Switch. I'll have to pick up another one, which I just might do.
Yeah, so I'm excited to see.
Yeah, that'd be sweet.
Yeah.
All right, so would that be your answer then? Like Final Fantasy
and
Pokemon? Okay,
stuff along those lines. Yeah.
All right, so let's see. If I had to choose, if I had to pick, I believe they actually have some Sonic. There's some Sonic board games. Actually, I know there's a recent Sonic card game that came out. But if I had to pick one, man, what in the world would I pick? There's a God of War. There's a God of War card game that's out. And that is like the newest God of War. Well, the newest God of War that's out. I know there's one coming out for PS5. And I want to get a PS5 just so I can play that because that game, God of War was one of the best games on PS4. So let's see. Yeah, it is hard, dude.
It was difficult.
Yeah, I like your Pokemon idea, and I do like Final Fantasy because those are huge IPs, and honestly, those are the IPs to do it on too.
Yeah,
are big IPs like that. Kingdom Hearts was one of my favorite games too, but I'm not. I'll be interested to see how these games turn out, these board games. But man, let me think. My word.
Just pull up your Steam library.
Yeah, right. You know what would be interesting is RTSs.
Yeah.
StarCraft.
Yeah. There is this
Diablo.
board game, StarCraft game.
There is?
It's ginormous box.
Is it?
It's huge.
Yeah, I believe it. Yeah.
It was at when we went out looking at
Red
we
Rack, down south. That one.
Yes,
Okay.
I believe so.
Yeah.
Where I accidentally punched your son.
Oh, so when we were together, so that would have been in Plainfield. Oh yeah,
yeah, that place.
So
place.
okay, yeah. So can you tell that story?
So we were.
We were together. So it was me,
son?
Jim, and then my kids. So my son and my daughter, we were all together.
Oh man!
Basically, going around to local game stores in the area and just checking them out.
Yeah,
just seeing what was in the area.
Oh man!
So that is the preface.
How old is your son, Dan? 5?
Now he's 5.
5. Okay. So we're going through this one store, and there's so much stuff in this store.
Yeah.
There's things stacked from the ground pretty much up to the ceiling in every single one of these rooms.
Yeah.
And I go, I'm looking at like what's above me. I'm not used to being around small kids. So I go to like move my hand and point to something, but his son walked in front of me. So I like cracked him with my knuckles on his head. I'm like, oh, I am so sorry, kid.
He didn't cry. I don't think he cried. Bad, yeah. He was just like, "Oh."
Yeah, he was like rubbing his head. I'm like, I feel so bad.
Yeah, he took it like a champ though. It was funny. It was funny.
Oh man.
Oh my word.
I don't even know what game I was trying to point out.
Oh, at that time?
I think it might have been a D&D figure.
Like I don't even know, man.
I don't know.
I don't know either. I was just concerned of you punching my son.
Yeah, it wasn't like slow either. Like I was moving my hand quick, but it was, oh man. Yeah, it was, I'm like, ooh, yeah, that was rough.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
So that store.
Yeah, that store. Okay, all right, that store. You saw it in that store.
Has the StarCraft big box. It was like $400.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was just huge.
Wow. So StarCraft would be good. Interesting. Yeah. Diablo. I think would be interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know how you make that a board game.
Yeah, I don't know.
That would be interesting.
Oh, maybe I could see it a little bit like Zombie Side or Betrayal, House in the Hill.
Oh, okay.
Going through like random rooms or tunnels inside this area.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that as well.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I'll have to think. I'll have to think and maybe come back next week with like one game that I would want to see as a board game. So anyway, so that is our topic for today. That was fun. If you have any ideas of video games that you want to see as board games, or video games that are board games that you love, or video games that were turned into board games that you hate.
Yeah.
Anything, let us know. Shoot us an email. You can hit us up on the email at hobbiesandhappiness@gmail.com. Speaking of email, if you've got a gaming story of any interesting time that you had playing a game in your group, let us know. We'd be interested to know about a good time or a terrible time. If you've got any interesting stories,
especially a terrible time.
Those are always the most fun to read. If you've got any one of those, let us know, and it'd be interesting to read those off on the show. So there's that. If you're listening to this, please leave us a 5-star review on whatever platform you are listening on. Now, there was something going on with our podcast that was not showing up on a lot of these platforms. Something happened around episode 26 that for some reason it was not showing up on these other platforms like iHeartRadio, Amazon, Google. There were a lot of platforms that something was messed up on. So I believe I got that fixed. I still don't have the iHeartRadio issue resolved. I have to try to log into my iHeartRadio account and figure out what's going on with the podcast there. But I did fix everything from the Podbean level, so we should all be good. Mm-hmm. We should be sending the podcast out to all different platforms. So those issues should be resolved. If you, I know I was talking to somebody, Anthony, if you're listening to this, dude, I have not forgotten about you. I don't know what happened with iHeartRadio. I'm still trying to get that fixed. But we should be good on every other platform. I know we are good, except iHeartRadio. It's the only one I need to get fixed. So, So if you still have any issues, don't hesitate. Shoot us an email or just shoot us a message, and I will see what I can do to follow up with that. All right, Jimbo, where can people find you on the interwebs?
Yeah, you guys can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Jim Morgan HNH.
All right, you can find me on Twitter at _DG Campbell and Instagram at Daniel.G.Campbell. You can find Hobbies and Happiness on pretty much every social media platform: Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, pretty much all of them. Check out our YouTube channel. That's all we got for today. And we will see you all next week. Thanks everybody for being here, and we'll catch you in the next episode. See you, everybody.
Take care.